What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of the In the Ring Show with your host, Devious Damien. This video probably isn't going to be all that long, but what I'm going to talk about is 13 years ago today, we lost a great wrestler and a great man, Owen Hart. This was one of the, perhaps even the biggest tragedy to strike the wrestling business. Now, you know, every death in wrestling is a tragedy. Don't get me wrong, but the reason I consider Owen's death such a tragedy is because, you know, he died while he was in the prime of his career. And he died doing a stunt that had previously not gone wrong. And here he thought that everything was going to be okay, and that, you know, it would go off without a hitch, and then this tragic event happens. Now, there are some who say that Owen didn't want to do the stunt because he was afraid of heights, this, that, and the other thing. And other people have also blamed Vince Russo for, you know, what happened. And if that's your opinion, you're entitled to it. However, before you go quickly jumping the gun and you're jumping on the I hate Vince Russo ship, which I admit I was on at one point, I'll admit to that. But then I watched this DVD set called Ultimate Insiders with Ed Ferrara and Vince Russo. Now, granted, I understand that what they say is merely their side of the story. And, you know, there was an urban legend going around for years about why they made Owen Hart portray the Blue Blazer character, and the urban legend being that, you know, it was only done because Owen Hart would not go along with a kind of storyline where he was in love with Deborah, having kind of some sexual relationship with Deborah. And Vince Russo admitted that he wanted to do that at first, but Owen said, no, I don't want to do that. So then he came up with an idea for Owen to play the Blue Blazer, and he said it wasn't done as punishment. He was just trying to come up with a funny gimmick for Owen, like a mock superhero type thing. And, you know, the funny and the comedy being that everybody knew it was Owen Hart, but Owen Hart was going to constantly deny being the Blue Blazer. And now some of Russo's detractors, they say that Owen felt like he couldn't say no because he had already said no to the previous idea that Russo had. And Russo actually flat out said that, you know, if Owen did not want to do it, he could have just said no, and we would have gone back to the drawing board and come up with something else. And, you know, some of you may call me stupid, some of you may call me naive for believing this, but I believe Vince Russo was telling the truth. And if you think I'm stupid or naive for, you know, buying that, that's your opinion. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I will disagree, but I can't flatly tell you you're wrong because that's your opinion. You know, Vince Russo seemed to be telling the truth when he said that if Owen didn't want to do it, he could have just said, I don't want to do it. And it also didn't seem to be punishment. Like, they just seemed to, like, want to do something with Owen, and since he rejected the first idea, then, you know, they came up with something else. And as far as, you know, if Owen didn't want to do it, he could have said no. You know, Vince Russo flat out said that Owen shouldn't have felt obligated to do a gimmick if he didn't want to do it. He said that he never made anybody do something they did not want to do. And I believe that. And Owen dying is a real shame because if this had never happened, think about where Owen could be today. Granted, do I still see Owen having a job in WWE? Yes. Do I see it being as a wrestler? Probably not. Not because he wasn't good enough to still be there as a wrestler, mind you, but I think I'd see Owen as somebody who knew when his time was over, and he would have, gone on to different roles in the company. Maybe a trainer, maybe, a backstage road agent, or, helping with promos or something. He would have been employed in the company, just not in a wrestling capacity. And I think it's a shame that we lost such a great man and a great wrestler. I remember when he won King of the Ring in 1994, and he called himself the King of Hearts. Great stuff. That was awesome stuff. His feud with Brett was classic. Winning the Intercontinental title was another great moment for Owen Hart, when he beat the man who would eventually become known as The Rock, back then known as Rocky Maivia. Owen was just an awesome wrestler, and even though I never met Owen personally, I'm going to go ahead and go by what everybody had to say about him on the tribute show. What a great guy he was. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that's the truth and say that Owen Hart was a great guy. And of all the wrestlers I have ever heard talk about Owen Hart, I have yet to come across one person who did not say what a great guy he was. Owen. And for any wrestling fan who says this is stupid, this is corny, this sounds gay, well, go fuck yourself, because I'm going to say it whether you like it or you don't like it. Owen, you are missed, and you will forever be missed. Not just by your family, but by the fans who grew up watching you and were entertained by you for years. For any of you watching this who aren't that familiar with Owen Hart, for whatever reason, maybe, you didn't start watching wrestling until after he was gone, or you were too young, you weren't even alive when Owen Hart was around. For any wrestling fan who's not familiar with Owen Hart for any reason, I'm going to post up the link. Well, not just one link. I'm going to post up a few links down there at the bottom. And so you can take a look at Owen Hart. I'm going to post some of his greatest achievements in wrestling, so you can kind of take a look at some of the things that he's done. For this edition of the In the Ring Show, this is Devious Damien signing out. Good night, everybody.